Good evening. How God has been an advocate during the coronavirus. How God has been my advocate during the coronavirus while I was in the hospital from 7/13 through 7/15. I had a COVID-19 test on 7/9/20, and then I had to quarantine myself until the day of surgery. Hebrews 11:1-2. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. James 5:16. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. Hebrews 11:6. And without faith it is impossible to please God. I was notified 3 weeks by my surgeon that I would be going in the hospital on July the 13th. I asked as many questions that I could think of. The most important question for me was how many people would be able to stay at the hospital with me on that day, and they told me only one person. I was on the prayer line. I had a great desire to pray. I was on the prayer line 5 to 6 times a week. I wanted to saturate myself with the words, prayer, Sunday sermons, Bible study, and praise songs. If I didn't pray, I listened to the prayers of the saints. I read all of the positive text messages that were sent to me. I was thinking when we arrived at the hospital that at least one person could stay with me while the nurses started my IV and get me ready for surgery. When we arrived at the registration office, my sister was told that this is as far as you go with her. You will see her again when she is discharged. Reality began to set in. That meant I was going to be alone. I needed an advocate. When the nurse came in and told me that she would be setting up an IV line, I knew at that moment that I was in trouble. The nurse tried to find a vein, but she couldn't. Then she brought in the machine to help her find a vein. But when that failed, she said that she would call the anesthesiologist to set up my IV line. He came in and said, "Miss Griffin, I think that I will have to put an IV line in your neck." When he said that, I was trying to think of something negative, but I couldn't. I wanted to cry, but I couldn't. It was so peaceful, all I could do was to rest in God's peace. I was surrounded with God's peace. The prayers of the righteous availeth much. God was my advocate during the entire time. He was with me in the operating room during my surgery, in the recovery room, and with me also on the patient's floor. I had 2 nurses on the floor. They were angels, Edna and Tracy. They were with me night and day. I had need of anything. They told me how pleasant it was working with me. I thanked them for their patience and kindness. My advocate was with me the entire time. I thank God and the pastor for the prayer line. Those prayers was with me the entire time that I was in the hospital. It was a peaceful stay. My surgery was peaceful. I never felt alone. My advocate was with me, carrying me the entire time. My healing process has been tremendous. The positive text messages that I read each day were awesome. I thank God for the prayers of my pastor, my family, the deacon board, the pastoral care team, and the entire Mount Zion church family. Without faith, it is impossible to please God. John Wesley states that faith does not mean that you are not going to struggle, but faith will keep you together in the struggle. God has been my advocate, and he still is. The prayer of the righteous availeth much.
Hello, Mount Zion. This is Jamie Jeffries Sr. Pastor asked me to give a talk on how God has been an advocate for me during the COVID-19 pandemic. First, I'd like to say that I'm very thankful for one, being a part of Mount Zion and being requested to even do a talk. This is not something that I've, been accustomed to doing a lot of. So here we go. So far, during these last few months, we have experienced a lot of things at my house, in my home, and in my family. We've been doing a lot of had the opportunity to do a lot of walking, exercising, and, actually having the opportunity to spend with each other. We have yet to have seen a lax in funds at our home. Everything is paid up. We're blessed to have still have food and things that we can partake, but we have had time to do a lot of learning, reading, and being able to talk and spend time listening to each other, whereas before it wasn't readily available due to work schedules or school schedules. You get to spend and listen to each other a little more. And the interesting thing is that when we are having more time alone, you tend to hear the voice of the Lord a little clearer. Sometimes I found myself not wanting to listen. But the interesting thing about God is that he won't go away. He just keeps coming. And it's almost like you have to listen. And I love the fact that, he keeps coming, which tells me I can't get away. But I am very thankful for the health of my family, my mom, the children. My brother found out that he was sick, but he got a very good report recently that gave him reason to rejoice and to be thankful. And it has given us a renewed sense of trust in the Lord and what he has in store for us and for our community at large. I have, however, been inundated with a lot of negative stories in not just the city or the state, but also across the country. And I am ever watchful of some of the things that our people are going through. But I'm very thankful to be in this place for such a time as this. and always looking for an opportunity to be a blessing. I wake up in the morning asking God to bless me so that I can bless somebody else in any way that's possible. And I am looking forward to those opportunities when they come. Thank you, and God bless.